The United Nations Global Compact on Migration is something that many of you have written to me about, are talking about, and are frankly very and rightly concerned about. This is why for the last several months I've been working to figure out exactly what Justin Trudeau's agenda is with it, but also to oppose it. One of the talking points that Justin Trudeau has been using with regard to the Global Compact on Migration is that it's quote unquote non-binding. And frankly, this is what the United Nations themselves have been using in terms of a talking point. So my question has been, well, if this agreement is non-binding, why should Canada sign on to it? What is it going to do if it's non-binding? And what impact could it have on Canadian sovereignty? So this is an area of research that I've been trying to put a fair mind to, and I asked Justin Trudeau about a piece of information that I received today in the House of Commons that I think you're going to find very interesting as well. Watch his response.
Mr. Speaker, there's a problem with the Liberals giving Canadians false assurances that the UN Global Compact for Migration is non-binding. Non-binding agreements can become customary international law and inform interpretation of domestic law. This means Canadian judges can cite this declaration in their decisions. After spending $1.1 billion on illegal border crossers, will the Prime Minister reverse his policy of border erasure and refuse to sign the UN Global Compact on Migration?
Honourable Minister of Immigration.
Mr. Speaker, I'm proud of the fact that the Global Compact on Migration is an example of Canadian leadership abroad. Most of the document is based on best practices from Canada. It is about the orderly management of migration. It is about recognizing Canada's success on integration and settlement. Only a conservative with a broken immigration record would find a problem with us sharing our best practices with the world. When it comes to making sure that we export the privately sponsored refugee program or our success with economic immigration, we will sign the agreement.
The honourable member for Calgary-Nose Hill.
Spending $1.1 billion on people who illegally enter the country from the safe spaces of New York should be a best practice that Canada does not export anywhere. Mr. Speaker, the idea that Canada's immigration policy can be informed or controlled by something outside of our nation should be a grave concern, and given the Prime Minister's demonstrated inability and unwillingness to secure our borders. Will the Prime Minister today reverse his border erasing policy and withdraw Canada from the UN Global Compact?
Honourable Minister of Immigration.
Our record speaks for itself. Faster processing of spousal sponsorships, reuniting more families than ever before, making sure that we invite people to become Canadian citizens when they've contributed so much to this country. What is despicable is the record of that party, cutting refugee health care, putting obstacles against people who wish to become Canadian citizens, bragging about Yazidis when they only had 3 Yazidis in Canada. We have the record to prove, Mr. Speaker. Let them have the talking points.
So by that response, you can see that Justin Trudeau's immigration minister is just out to lunch on this issue. So let me give you a little bit of information on it. And I'll start by telling you what I've been doing on this issue. At the end of October, I moved a motion at Immigration Committee to study this issue in terms of the potential impacts on Canada, because there hasn't been any parliamentary debate on this to date. And I was very concerned that we hadn't had witnesses come and testify, and we hadn't even had the government come to tell us about what their agenda or plan was. So I did manage to get that motion through, and we've been having a few meetings on the compact. And something really interesting happened when the government sent what's called a parliamentary secretary. So it's a member of parliament that has a junior appointment to the committee to testify on this. So this parliamentary secretary for immigration, he once again sort of launched into the non-binding talking point. He said, no, you have no concern. It's not going to affect Canadian sovereignty. But he noted at that meeting that decisions that states make must also be done in accordance with international legal obligations. So let me read to you, because I've written this out, exactly what this means. In this, Justin Trudeau's government admits that non-binding agreements like the Global Compact on migration can in fact become customary international law and inform the interpretation of domestic law or Canadian law. This means that Canadian judges will be able to cite the compacts in their decisions. And we see this in decisions like Baker versus Canada, 1999, R versus Hape, 2007, and Ordon Estate versus Grail in 1998. Therefore, despite no clear legislative steps being prescribed yet, the compacts can still influence Canadian domestic law. So, look, I'm really troubled that, we haven't had a more fulsome debate in Parliament about this. This is concerning. And it's really concerning given the fact that Justin Trudeau has, for all intents and purposes, implemented essentially an open border policy in Canada by allowing nearly 40,000 people to illegally enter the country from upstate New York, and then is projected to spend a total, just at the federal level, of $1.1 billion, as the parliamentary budget officer reported last week, on supporting people who have illegally entered the country and claimed asylum. Now, I'm going to come to you in coming days with a lot more rationale as to why Canada should oppose this agreement. And I'm also going to show you some things that we've got up our sleeves to try and get Canada out of this agreement. But for those of you who might be talking to people who are saying, oh, no, this is non-binding, don't worry about it. This is right in the result of the study that I had. And you know what? If the immigration minister had an appropriate response to the questions I asked today, why didn't he give them to us? I don't even think he knew what I was talking about. I mean, maybe that's best case scenario. But worst case scenario is more troubling. The government and Justin Trudeau, given how poorly they've managed Canada's immigration system, needs to pull Canada out of this global compact and focus first on fixing Canada's broken immigration system. It's only Canada and Canadians who have the right to come up with immigration policy and manage our borders, not foreign entities. Working hard for you in Ottawa. Have a great day.